Hi, I'm Dave, this is my wife Nikki, and I'm going to give you a tour through my life with heart failure and having a left ventricular assistance device implanted.
So let's pretty much just go from the start. Let's talk about you two. You're a really, really nice couple, and that's exactly why I wanted to get you both back, because I think you're really inspiring. You're more than welcome. So yeah, what is your story as a couple? How long have you been together? What's the history of you two? Where do you start?
Yeah, where do we start? I'll tell you that on the 18th of November this year we'll have been married 25 years. And there was quite a few times I didn't think I was going to make that, so I'm so chuffed that we are going to do that. And we've been together, what?
29 years.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I had a daughter by my first marriage. She's 34, and I have a little granddaughter who's now 3, and had only just been born when I came into the QE. And she was a major driver for me, because Nikki and my daughter were producing a collage. It was suggested by one of the nurses in the critical care unit, that if I woke up it would be good to see some familiar faces. So she was a big driver, because every week they were taking photographs and building this collage, and as it went on, every member of the family, apart from my mum, because she's in a nursing home, appeared on these photographs. So when I eventually did come out, I'd look at it every morning and every evening, and I knew exactly what I was fighting for. In the March of 2018, we lost my dad, and we got everything sorted out the week after his death, with having registered his death on the Friday. I actually ended up in hospital on the Monday with suspected kidney failure. And it wasn't kidney failure, it was my heart packing up, basically. I'd been diagnosed with heart failure in 2005 and had a quadruple bypass in 2006. After Dad died and I ended up in hospital, they decided that this was not going in a good place, and they spoke then, which was April, about possible heart transplant or an LVAD. I was in and out of hospital all through the summer. I mean, Nikki's got a photograph of me as I was on the day that I was discharged, and I was massive. I was retaining so much water, it was unbelievable. 2 of the consultants knew Dr. Lim and spoke to him, and he agreed to take me on a transfer. He carried out the right heart catheterisation, and all that I can remember of that was him saying, "You're a very, very poorly man." And he finished, and they took me out into coronary care to recover. And what I think is about 3/4 of an hour later, it could be anything, because I was really quite distraught at that point.
Of course.
He came and he said, "Well, we're debating if we can do an operation. If we do it, there's a 50-50 chance you won't come off the table." And I said, "Well, if you don't do it?" And he said, "We'll make it comfortable. You won't be here by the end of the afternoon." So, in my book, 50-50 was a better chance than no chance whatsoever. One of the nurses said, "Do you want to ring your wife?" And I said, "Yes, please." And Nick was coming to see me in the afternoon. She was finishing early at that stage anyway. And she said, "I'll finish in 20 minutes. And I said, "I might not be here in 20 minutes. So thankfully, I was able to see Nikki and Ashley, Fred and Sally before I went in for the operation.
And sorry to interrupt on that bit, what, honestly, for you, what was that phone call like for you? That must, is it something you still think about? Is it one that's always there, that you remember exactly what he said?
For me, it was scary at the time because I knew I had to get here as quick as I can, and being an hour away, I had to like speed to get here because I wanted to get here. But going through your mind, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
And like walking into the ward as well, I was like all my nerves were, and I didn't know if to cry or what, to try to take it all in, and I just couldn't take it all in. So in the end, the sister Becky, at the time who was on, she said, "John, you got your stepdaughter," and I said, "Can you ring her to explain?" Because I was in just tearful and emotional, and in the end she said yes, so she did, and then they came in together, which was nice. Then she was like, and Brian, bless him, was trying to calm me down as well as trying to put it into my head as well, try to understand it all.
Yeah. And how did you feel having to tell your wife that, then your child? Like, do you remember how, in that moment, how you felt and what you had to say?
It was the worst moment of my life.
Yeah, of course.
Because it felt like I was saying goodbye.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know what was going to happen. I knew that the operation, which was to put me onto an ECMO, was only the first step. And one of the surgeons, Dave Quinn, explained that there's going to be a number of hurdles for you to get over. This is not going to be a walk in the park. How did he put it? It's going to be second by second, then minute by minute, then hour by hour, and then day by day. We came into clinic on a weekly basis to start with, so at that point it was week by week. Then it got to fortnight by fortnight, and then month by month, and then 3 months by 3 months, and now we come in 6 monthly.
Amazing.
And we're 3 years, or just over 3 years down the line from that conversation. I ended up with PTSD, not just from that, but from a load of other stuff previously in life. I suppose this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And interestingly, there was quite a lot from my previous life that was in the delirium at various stages. From flying and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And being in combat zones. So I guess that was something that was waiting to happen. But when I was talking to the mental health nurses afterwards, because this is difficult to say, but for a man, we normally find it very difficult to admit that we've got that sort of problem.
Of course.
But at some point you have to say, oh, hang on a moment, I need help. Because this isn't going away. And you don't sleep. And you have flashbacks. And you can just burst into tears at the drop of a hat. Because of the things that you see or the things that you remember. And so I did go to the doctor, and the doctor referred me. But I was supported all the way through. The LVAD cafe, the clinical psychologist, Gemma, said, look, if you're not getting the support you need from your local services, tell me and I'll make sure it's sorted. And that was what I'd got all the way through. We're through it, and 3 years on Monday. It's Lawrence's birthday. we call the LVAD Lawrence, just as a joke really, didn't we, to start with, but Lawrence is a massive part of my life because he's a massive part of me. He keeps me alive. So it means a hell of a lot. Without him, without the team, I know that I wouldn't be here. And the mantra that I live my life by now is, I couldn't do this in a box.
100%.
Because we have a wonderful life, don't we?
I do.
We've been given another chance.
Yeah.
We've been on a cruise around the Baltics because I promised that if I got through everything, I was going to take Nikki, Ashley, Fred and Tally on a cruise. And so June, wasn't it? Was it May?
Yeah, June.
May, June. 2019, we all went off around the Baltics. Bought a motorhome. We go all over the country with a motorhome. And in fact, we had an email conversation when we were sat on the harbour side at Paynton. So it's not a case that it's stopped me doing things. There are things I can't do anymore. I can't go swimming, I can't have a bath, that sort of thing. But it's given me the chance of a life. It's not just a piece of equipment. It is a life. And to start with, they were using these as a bridge to transplant.
Yeah.
Because obviously hearts don't come along every 5 minutes. Whereas I guess with an LVAD, it's more that it can be taken off the shelf. 6 months after the implant, I had to come in for a reassessment. And they offered me a transplant. I didn't want it. 2 reasons. First of all, the quality of life that I have with the LVAD is superb.
Yeah.
And secondly, if I had a transplant, I'd put Nikki and my family through exactly the same thing as I went through before. And I couldn't do that.
No, of course.
No way could I do that. So I said, thank you, but not at the moment. So I have a letter that says if I want to change my mind, I can do. And obviously, if something happened, then that's an option that would have to be considered.
Yeah.
And I suppose another option is changing the LVAD. There must be some fight in me somewhere.
100%. And I think you both have got to give yourself credit. Like, you've been through something very traumatic and very hard, but you're both here.
Yeah.
And you're both still together.
And it's
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing. I wouldn't be here without Nick.
really.
And would you say going through this has made you even stronger as
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't take things for granted, and like what's done yesterday, done. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But today you can do something, and tomorrow you can do something about it. What's done's done. But also through Dave, what he went through before he got discharged, I wanted to know how to dress his wound because I'm not a nurse, and I had to learn because I thought I'd do it here because I've got nurses around me. And then once I got home, it'd be second nature then to me, so I wouldn't forget it.
Yeah.
And I have to do it every other day now, so to keep infections at bay. But I have to do that now, and I've got down clear head when I got home. That's it, because I've got no safety net there to protect me. I need to do it, and I need to do it right. And anything what's iffy, I always take pictures to send in, so then Lisa can say what I've got to do, what needs to be done, so then I can do something about it.
Yeah.
And the support is second to none.
Yeah, it's great.
Second to none. What we've got basically are 2 batteries, and those are detachable connectors, which we'll come on to for the evening. We have a control unit, which basically tells me everything that I need to know. So I know the speed of the pump, I know the flow of blood around my body in litres per minute. A thing called the PI, which I think is pulse index, but nobody really seems to be able to explain it to anybody because we had a conversation about it a couple of weeks ago. And basically it's just an indicator that the team here
Yeah.
would look at, but we don't need to be overly worried about. And it tells me how much power it's drawing, so it's using 4.6 volts at the moment, watts, sorry. And it tells me the state of the backup battery. There's a backup battery here,
Yeah.
which if the main batteries fail or I'm stupid and don't change them when it tells me to, that will give me, hopefully, about 15 minutes to rectify the situation.
Right.
Each morning you do a self-test, but I'm not going to do it in here because it makes a lot of noise and people might come running to see what had happened.
We could be thinking of viral.
But it gives me the opportunity to check all of these indicators. I've got indicators for each battery. The drive line, which is this one, is the most important, because where that goes in, it goes into a hole in my stomach here,
Yeah.
and then it feeds itself up to my heart, and that's what actually powers the pump.
Yeah.
So that's literally my lifeline. The indicators will tell me how much is left in the battery. If it's a battery failure, that one will illuminate. And that's an orange one, which means it's an alert. The one below is a broken heart. That's red, and this is critical.
Yeah.
Blue light time.
Blue light, yeah. And then the spanner underneath is if there's any technical issue with the box. We carry around a spare controller and spare batteries all the time with us, which is in a bag down here somewhere.
Yeah.
And that goes with us everywhere.
And a stethoscope.
Yeah, carry a stethoscope, as you know, primarily so that if something does happen, Nick can listen
Yeah.
if I'm flat out to see whether the pump's still running. And I've got an indicator light up here which is green, which tells me that the pump's running.
We also carry the holistic clip as well,
Yeah.
just in case it breaks.
Yeah.
So we carry one of those in, and also the letters what the nurses gave us on discharge for the paramedics. Because obviously the paramedics don't come across these often,
Yeah.
so it gives them a help as well.
And is it quite heavy for you to wear?
It's about 3 kilos.
Yeah.
But at night, these connectors come off
Right.
and I have a mains power unit
Yeah.
and screw onto those. So those are coded black and white as well.
Yeah.
And you have to get those the right way around, otherwise the box gets upset. And then it charges the battery overnight, and obviously it supplies the power to the unit to keep it running.
Oh, wow. And in terms of washing, I know this is a personal question, how does that happen when you can't go swimming, you can't have a bath? So stuff like having a shower
Carefully.
and stuff.
I could have a shower, but I've got ulcerated legs.
Right.
So that makes that difficult. So basically it's strip washes.
Yeah.
And off strip washing as well.
Yeah. Which Santa's little helper
Elf.
does for me.
Yeah.
My elf.
Little help.
She bought me plenty of presents for Christmas that year, that's for sure.
So with a kit like this, are you now able to live a fairly normal life? Does it need to be changed in like 10 years or whatever? Can you basically keep this now for the next 20, 30, 40 years? Like what?
They
what's the
expect
situation
them
with
to
it?
last for at least 15 years.
Okay, wow.
One of the guys that's on our VAD cafe, he was the first recipient of an LVAD at the QE,
Yeah.
and he's had 2
Okay.
because there was an upgrade. What I've got is a HeartMate 3, and there was an upgrade from the HeartMate 2, so they swapped his.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that if it comes to the end of its life, but it should carry on running anyway because it's a magnetically suspended pump.
Yeah.
So there's no contact.
Yeah.
So it could last 20 years, it could last 25.
Yeah.
But if it did come to the end of its life, as opposed to mine, hopefully then, yeah, it could be swapped for a newer one. This is a really useful tip for the families. Nick would tell one person who would then disseminate it.
Yeah.
But you'd also run, was it WhatsApp groups or messenger groups?
There was messenger groups, because when Dave was in critical care, Stephen, one of the nurses, he said, why don't you get, so messaging everybody, why don't you do messenger groups?
Yeah.
And I'm not technical. But I got the gist, so I did it, so I had it, so I got like all those, because I wanted to tell them things that not others, you know what I mean? So I got his cousins all on one, I got all our friends on another, so then they could see the same conversation. I was messaging my friend because she's not on that kind of thing, she just texts us. So I was messaging her, telling her. And then Lee said it got distributed, they knew it, so they didn't have hundreds of phone calls, because I didn't want that when I come home at night, because all I wanted to do is get home, eat, if I hadn't eaten here, and then just sleep and then contemplate what's going to happen the next day or during the night. So we had different groups going along, so then these and everywhere got distributed, and because David's a Mason as well, we got what's known as NALMA need checks on that, so I wanted only him to know, and our friend who lives next door to know, so then they could tell them people what's going on, because I didn't want to be bombarded with all them questions and couldn't deal with it then. I just wanted what certain people to know.
I think that's a really good tip.
It was difficult for some of them because they wanted to speak directly, but they understood that Nick needed some space.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that is really, really important. If you've got somebody that can act as press officer, then that really helps.
Definitely. And I think one of my other questions for you both is, how would you both describe each other? If you can think of one word about each other now, how would you both describe each other? How would you describe
I'd
Nikki?
describe Nikki as amazing, because she's been through so much. She's fought so hard. She was there every step of the way, whether I was awake or not, and never knew what she was going to find or what could happen. So I think she's amazing.
And I think you're inspirational.
Thank you.
Well, you're both amazing. You honestly are. Is there any other advice you two have? How have you honestly got through this as a couple as well? And what advice would you give to other couples? That have
Take
been...
each day as it comes. What will be, and just live your life as you would normally.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, never give up. Never stop fighting. And always remember, you can't do anything in a box. And so the most important thing is never give up and stay focused on what's important, because what you think's important before all of this happens, you suddenly realise is just niff-naff and trivia.
Yeah.
100%.
And the important stuff is your family, and making sure that you don't let them down, because they'll never let you down.